All right, good morning, party people. It is the 28th. All right, so this morning we are back in the Old Testament for our Bible study. But for our daily reading, we're also in the Old Testament. I'm not awake. All right, so for our daily reading, we're doing today Leviticus 19:20, Nehemiah 1:2, Revelations 1:2. So we restarted Revelations this morning. Psalms 27:28, and then Proverbs 24. Okay, so that's our daily reading. So we are back in the study of Nehemiah this morning, and we are in chapter 3. So for those of you that have not seen any of the previous videos, I'm going to show you on my little tattered map where we are on the timeline of Israel with the book of Nehemiah, so you kind of understand where we're at. Okay, so here we've already done the study of First and Second Chronicles and Ezra. So First and Second Chronicles, what this map is showing here is this is Israel. This is the Jewish people, right? Here's the Davidic line. Here's the Davidic kingdom. So under Saul, David, and then his son Solomon. That's right here. And then here we have the breakup of the kingdom, right? So we have two of the tribes after Solomon's son Rehoboam takes over, go down and start the kingdom of Judah. This is the legitimate line. This is the Davidic line from which Jesus comes. Up here are what they call the kings of Israel. This is the northern tribe of Israel. So the kingdom was divided into two. This group does not follow God. This group tries to follow God. Okay, they have better luck down here. So here you've got this yellow line here shows the northern kingdom and its disintegration here with the kingdom of Assyria. Down here you see the kingdoms. Here's the rise of Assyria, the rise of Babylon, the rise of Persia, and their timeline with the Israel. So these guys fall, and then the southern kingdom eventually falls to Babylon. That's here where we see the story of Daniel, right? So down here is the rise of Babylon. So where we're at is all the way down here in the book of Nehemiah, right? So after the rise and fall of Babylon, then the kings of Persia come into play. We saw the rise of Cyrus, who was pre-named and called by God all the way back here by Isaiah. He rises up and tells the people that were the Jewish people that were in captivity in Persia, that had been taken captive by Babylon and Assyria, that they can go back to Israel and rebuild the temple. So we saw the first group go back under Zerubbabel, under Ezra, the book of Ezra that we just finished. And then here's the second group that goes back under Ezra himself. And now we're in the book of Nehemiah. Now remember, the books of Chronicles, Ezra, and Nehemiah, they believe were all compiled by Ezra. And the whole point of those books was to encourage the people that were going back to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. Okay, so now we've gone through the first and second chapters in Nehemiah, and we're seeing some, of course, some people, the neighboring kingdoms, of course, are not happy about this, right? They were not happy at all that the Jews are coming back and rebuilding the temple. Many of those nations had encroached upon the land that had been lost by Israel. So they had been, they're building their own little cities there and taking over areas. And so now with the rise again of the possibility of the rise of Israel, that makes them very uncomfortable because they know that that the land that they have may be taken back from them. Okay, so now we're at chapter 3, and Nehemiah has come back. He has permission from the king to begin to rebuild the wall, right? So we saw in Ezra and in Zerubbabel, the first two going back, it was kind of like just establishing the community and reestablishing the worship of God and the sacrificial system, and just kind of putting all those things in place and beginning to seek God again, right? And so now, though, the walls need to be rebuilt because they have no safety, right? There's no way to protect themselves from the neighboring people without the walls. However, they know that no wall is going to matter without God, right? That they have to be, that if God is not their defense, then they have no defense. But they're working on all of that right now. So now Nehemiah has done a circuit of the city in the previous chapter, and he said, all right, let's build. This is what we're going to do. This is why I've come, is to rebuild the walls. So now we see in chapter 3, the entire chapter is about how the entire community comes together and each group builds the wall in front of it. So the bakers build the wall in front of them. The goldsmiths build the wall in front of them. So I'm going to read it. It can be very dry reading, but this is what I will tell you. When I went to look at this chapter, I read it in my study Bible, the notes in the study Bible, and I got pretty much what I thought I would get out of it. But then when I went to the commentary, it was really crazy how much detail. Remember, I've told you guys in the past that when you have lists of names, there's a reason for the lists of names, right? They go into all this detail about who these people are and the region that they're representing and the little bit of the things that are going on in that region. So it's really important to get a commentary or some kind of way to flesh out this information that you're being provided, because remember, nothing is random, right? There is nothing random in the Bible. Everything is put there for a purpose. So I would just encourage you to, when you're reading things like this and you get to the part of the begats and like this section that I'm going to read, and it seems very dry, but there's a reason for it. There's a purpose for it, right? A couple of the people that we're going to be introduced to here right at the beginning, it's going to become apparent as we go through Nehemiah that these guys are enemies of Nehemiah, right? They're not 100% on board with what he's doing, because remember, all of these people that had remained in Israel, that had not been taken captive in the first or the second captivity. So the people that were here that had not gone to Assyria, and the people here that had not gone to Babylon, there's always been a remnant here. There was a lot of intermarriage. So there was a lot of like, not treaties, but like just by intermarrying the local people, you become part of that community, right? And so your heart becomes divided. So are you part of their community, or are you part of God's community, Israel and Jerusalem, right? And so as I read chapter 3, I'm just going to read it straight through. I want you to think about where we are right now in time as well. All right. So where are we at in rebuilding our wall, right? We need to be about rebuilding our wall with God, right? Cleaning out his temple. We are the temple of God. Repositioning ourselves and getting on the prayer, getting into prayer and into his words for the time that we live in. We are called for such a time as this. At the same time, where are you in the community, right? For personally, this is an example for me personally. So my husband and I had been part of a church that was a bigger church. It was dynamic, a lot of people, wonderful worship and all that. We've had to step away because of care for our elderly parents. So before we've gone back, we thought we would check out this little local church in our community. I mean, it's a tiny little church. There's probably like 10 people that go to it. A local military guy is the pastor. He knows the Word of God, but it's local. It's literally walking distance from my house. So I'm starting to think that, this may be the section of the wall that I need to be engaged in. So instead of going to where I want to go, where am I at right now? Where has God placed me? And so anyways, this is just my processing. I'm not saying this is a word for everybody, but definitely be praying as there's no coincidence that we're in the book of Nehemiah, right? Our walls are broken down at the borders, both northern and southern border, and within the cities, within the communities, within the families. I mean, it's just tragic. So I would just encourage you to be about rebuilding the walls. Whatever wall that God brings to your mind, be about rebuilding it and praying that God would give you wisdom. So I'm going to see how far I can get here. It's already 8 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm going to, if I do a second video, it's just going to be basically to read it. So chapter 3, Then Eliashib the high priest rose up with his brethren the priests and built the sheep gate. They consecrated it and hung its doors. They built as far as the Tower of the 100 and consecrated it. Then as far as the Tower of Hananel, next to Eliashib, the men of Jericho built. And next to them, Zakur, the son of Imri, built. So they start right off with the high priest building, right? So they're sanctifying and preparing the sheep gate where they bring in the sacrifices, right? Remember, they don't have kings or judges during this time, so everybody looked to the priests for leadership. Verse 3, Also the sons of Hassenaah built the fish gate, and they laid its beams and hung its doors with its bolts and bars. And next to them, Meremoth, the son of Urijah, the son of Koz, made repairs. Next to them, Meshullam, the son of Berechiah, the son of Meshezabel, made repairs. Next to them, Zadok, the son of Baana, made repairs. Next to them, the Tekoites made repairs. That's from the city of Tekoa. But their nobles did not put their shoulders to the work of their Lord. So the nobles didn't do it, but all the citizens did. Okay, so I'm out of town. I'm going to do one more video just to go ahead and read through here, okay? So that we can get this, so that at least you're hearing what is done and seeing how, as a community, they've all come together to do a little bit of work, okay? Okay, so hold tight. Number 2's coming. Peace.